Hello everybody and welcome to JGod Gaming. Today's video is another subscriber breakdown. I'm actually going to be breaking down two different subscriber gameplays, both on TDM. One will be on Aachen and the other one will be on Point Duhawk. This is where I take subscriber gameplay and analyze what they do really well and what they need to improve on. If at any point you do enjoy the video or you like any of the tips within it, remember to hit that like button. I do have a goal of 250 likes, so let's see how close we can get to that number. And if you are new to the channel, I typically cover Call of Duty news, in-game updates, best class setups, subscriber breakdowns, other tip and trick videos. If any of that all sounds interesting to you, make sure you hit that subscribe button with those notifications on at some point during the video. One thing I will point out is that if you see this thing on the bottom of your screen, that means you're on Wi-Fi connection. Make sure you're on a wired connection if at all possible. It leads to more consistent gameplay. There's a couple scenarios in this specific video where it's probably connection is an issue. So that's definitely something I recommend, is having that wired connection if at all possible. The first thing we're going to talk about is the class setup. They're going to be running infantry with Hunker, and then they have STG with high caliber, grip, reflex sight, and extended mags. So overall, it's a decent class setup. I would probably drop Hunker because in the entire video, they don't die from a nade once. You can see their sensitivity on screen is a 4. So not that slow, not that fast. It's kind of medium like it says on the screen. This is one of the rarer cases where I'd probably recommend upping the sensitivity to 5.5 just because there's some gunfights they just tend to lose because they're trailing the opponent instead of being able to get right on them. This first little thing that we're going to see right here is his teammate dies. You can see the death skull right there. So instinctively, I would have already peeked this right side, and you can see he ends up getting killed by someone just kind of hanging out in that area. Immediately right off a spawn, you can hear a call out, some saying they're next to the trolley. So immediately you should have been looking at the trolley. It looks like the teammates are engaged over there. So I would at least peek that way just because the general peripheral awareness would have helped. Then right here, you can actually hear the footsteps. So I'm guessing this player doesn't have any kind of a headset. They do, it's turned down too low. You can actually hear the footsteps running around the corner. He could have kind of backed up, pre-aimed that, and got an extra couple kills as those guys came around the corner. This next death immediately off spawn is a little bit of a map awareness thing. You can see there's no teammates in this area, but he kind of delays in shooting them and ends up getting killed by the other guy as well. So they kind of pinched him. Either way, he probably would have died because there was a guy behind him and in front of him. But knowing where the map awareness is, he could have known that immediately if he comes around the corner, if he sees anything, it's probably hostile. So for this next scenario, you're going to see he comes around the corner and he doesn't pre-aim the area that's usually a hot spot. So right here, you can see that pre-aiming probably would have allowed him to get that first or second shot. And then immediately off spawn, he should have indication that there's still people in the library because they just killed him. So he should be almost be pre-aiming where the library is, and you can see he doesn't really recognize it until too late. He starts firing the weapon before he's locked on, and you can obviously see the result of what happened. So this next scenario, we're actually going to watch through a couple times so you can see everything that's going on. You can see he's pulling the trigger down, and you can see the guy on the top left of the mini-map. He's coming around the corner, and he ends up getting killed by him. He's holding down this trigger this entire time. He's not really getting the hit markers. So you can actually see that he's making himself appear large, big, glowing target on the mini-map. So this guy knows exactly where he is, and that's one of the main reasons the guy just comes right around the corner, spams a shotgun, and ends up getting instantly destroyed. A lot of times, this person, and a lot of people I see this, where they just hold that trigger down. It's almost like they don't let it go. For almost a 4-second span, he was just holding down that trigger, and obviously it led to his death right there. And it's going to lead to several deaths because you're giving away your position, especially if you don't have a suppressor. You can see he's lighting up the mini-map right now. His little icon on the triangle is fully filled in. That means they know exactly where he's at, and you can see easy death. The other problem in that scenario of holding the trigger down for too long is you get a lot of muzzle flash on your weapon when you fire it. So a lot of times if you're just holding it down, you're losing sight of where the person is. The muzzle flash will cover it up. You're going to have worse recoil, a little bit harder to handle the control of the weapon. So all in all, you just end up in a bad spot. In this next scenario that's about to pop up, you're going to see he ends up trailing the enemy. Even though he has the first shot on the guy, he pretty much should have the first shot. For whatever reason, he ends up in a bad scenario where he doesn't actually land those shots. Let's go ahead and take a look at this clip now, and you're going to see he dies, comes out of spawn, and he has the guy dead to rights. And this might be a case of the sensitivity being a little too low for this particular player. You can see he's trailing behind the guy. He ends up not hitting any of those shots. That's probably a good indication that the sensitivity just a hair too low. So I'd probably bump it up to that 5.5 and see how that works. Because based off of that, you're losing gunfights just because you can't keep up with how fast the guy is strafing. So the player goes ahead and they change up the class a little bit. But at the end of the day, I'm going to focus on the tips I can give so far. But for this person, they're pretty accurate, but it seems like they're limited by their sensitivity. So they might need to up it just slightly. As far as the map awareness piece goes, it looks like they're struggling to pay attention to the middle of the screen as well as the mini-map. So it looks like the HUD's already shrunk. So that's just more of a practice thing. Not getting so laser focused on where your crosshairs are. being able to multitask, that's definitely a work in progress at all times. It's something that we could always get better at. As far as actually being able to hit targets, it looks like the biggest issue is they hold the trigger way too long. And from doing several of these breakdowns, I think that's just a common issue that people struggle with, is just holding down that trigger just a little too long. So it's something that I recommend kind of getting a practice of adjusting, making sure that your bullets are hitting, and you could always practice in a private match and just make sure you're being as accurate as possible and you're only pulling the trigger when the bullets are going to hit. As far as the class setup goes, nothing bad there. They did have 4 attachments with infantry, which is great. They're not really going on long streaks, so they don't really need that forage or expeditionary for the ammo, other than maybe having a resupply of the bouncing Betty. But I would definitely drop Hunker. They didn't die once to a nade, so they kind of got a good grasp, or they just got lucky and no one was throwing nades. But at the end of the day, they had a basic training for the entire match that was useless. At this point, we're going to go ahead and start transitioning to the second gameplay that we're going to break down another subscribers on Point 2 Hawk. If you are enjoying the video so far, remember to hit that like button. Do subscribe if you are new to the channel. Again, the goal is 250 likes. So let's go ahead and see how close we can get to that number. Again, the gameplay is going to be on Point 2 Hawk. The player is going to be running armored with undercover, so that makes it so when people aim at them, their name won't pop up red. They're going to be using the PPSH with the grip, a suppressor, and extended mags. So overall, good attachment choices, good division. The only thing I would probably change up is the basic training. Again, this is probably an ordnance or blitzkrieg scenario, or pretty much a lot of other ones that are giving you map awareness, like Lookout. And one of the main reasons I dropped that undercover to begin with is just because on a smaller map, small and medium maps, it's not very advantageous because they can actually see your person. They would have seen your name. It's not a big deal. It's not like you're really hidden. On a Gustav Cannon type map, where it's a lot larger, or maps with long sight lines and you want to post up and you want to be less visible, it's going to help you on those maps. But this is not the scenario. So in this clip coming up, this player, they're definitely a decent player. From what I saw, it looked like they had reasonable gun skill. They position the right way. They pre-aim. They have advanced movement. You can see right here, they get in a bad scenario and they pretty much do the best thing you possibly can, trying to pick off a little kill here or there and then get out of there, because they were really in a bad situation. It looks like the guy who was trying to snipe them missed a couple times, or whatever they were using, the other guy was just missing his shots. And he placed a little S-mine there to cover his back. In this next little scenario, he ends up firing at a guy and he misses the shots. He probably should have made these shots a little bit more consistently, or waited till he closed that distance, and he ends up getting lucky right there, and the suppressor pays off. This guy doesn't even know he's there. He ends up cleaning him up. You can already see he has a recon and counter recon, so good move there. If he had blitzkrieg, he already had both of those, but the problem is he actually wasted his counter recon. You can see if there's not a recon in the air from the enemy team, you don't need counter recon. You don't want to waste it, especially if you're going to run around with the suppressor. You're going to want that map awareness to be shut down the second you get it. I want to go ahead and rewatch this scenario a couple times, because you can see he should have probably been pre-aiming as he came around this corner. Even though there wasn't a guy on the mini-map, you can see where all of his teammates are behind him right now, and then where he's positioned, that all the enemy team is more than likely in front of him. So you got to be a little more cautious when he comes around that corner. It is definitely one of those pre-aim scenarios. Just by knowing where the map's going on, could have been able to adjust for that. This next one is more of a poor use of a fighter pilot. You can see that he's kind of looking like he's confused on which route he want to go, and you can see which path he ends up taking. But I'm going to show you what I would have done. This is the path I would have taken. You can see when the recon passes that these little red dots are right there. The arrow, I would have made it go through this little arrow, and I would have made it go the angle I'm making it go, and then the circle would have been centered right there, and I would have probably got 2 to 3 kills with my fighter pilot. Being able to make that split decision will be the matter of getting 0 kills like you see they get here, and then also getting possibly 2 or 3 kills. From the other angle, I probably would have got, like I said, 2 or 3 kills, and it would have been easy to clean those up. And then right now, what you're going to see is he gets super lucky. This is probably the luckiest thing I've ever seen. And it might have been he got saved because he gets armored. But if you get stickied with the nade and you have armored on, it doesn't matter. You're going to end up dying. You can see he comes down here. He ends up killing the guy immediately when he gets stuck. But the guy ends up dying, so that like the nade, even though when it blows up, it kind of saves him. I don't know. He got lucky as I've ever seen anyone get lucky. And then you're going to see right now, he's about to get his recon and counter recon. And he calls in that recon right away. And what we're going to do is kind of wait this out, because I want to point out something very specific. He's going to end up calling in this counter recon. The enemy team actually has their recon right around this point. You see on the clock, it was right around the 7:20 mark. What we're going to do is wait out and look at the clock. And then you're going to see the recon playing and counter recon, they last 30 seconds for a standard recon. If you were running blitzkrieg, it would have been 45 seconds each. You're gonna see as he comes around here, he could have been pre-aiming. He knows the guy's there based off the mini-map, so that's either mini-map awareness or just kind of lazy when they came out of that tunnel. So they only have about 7 to 10 seconds before their recon wears off and their counter recon wears off. And what will happen is the enemy team does get a streak or something going in the next 20 seconds or so, but when they actually call it in, he's not going to be able to do anything to stop it. They actually get it at the 6:35 mark, so you're going to hear the enemy recon go off right at 6:35, so you've got a couple more seconds here. And then when it comes in, he could have just been sitting on that counter recon. And the advantage in doing that is because when you take a counter recon to a recon, you'll get 100 or 150 score. I don't remember what it is right off the top of my head, but you'll get that extra score, which will allow you to chain to your next streak. So essentially, now they know exactly where he's at. You can see on the mini-map, his triangle glows every once in a while. So he's on the mini-map. They could see exactly where he's at. Not hidden. They knew exactly where he's at. He gets a good kill there, a drop shotting. They still kind of know where he's at. He gets stickied again, but he didn't survive that one. Having that counter as a backup, so immediately once that recon goes up, you can counter it, is huge, especially if you're going to be running a suppressor. It also allows you to support your team. He ends up getting kind of a bad spot there. There's not really a reason that he should have expected that guy to be there, but the guy's there nonetheless. What you're going to see right here is he's going to come around the corner. He's going to miss some of these shots. So a lot of times you gotta be on target before you start firing. You can see he didn't let go of that trigger. Same thing as a first person experience. He didn't do it as much in this video. You can see as soon as that guy came across, he was just firing and dragging his crosshairs across, and he didn't land a single shot like he needed to. So for the most part, this player's sensitivity seems on point. Obviously, he was just kind of firing right there, so that wasn't a good example. But overall, their sensitivity seems good. They're not really missing too many shots when they do aim down sight. So based off the gameplay, I'd say they have a good grasp of the advanced movement. I just think overall, they got to work on consistency as a whole, navigating the map, free aiming, some of the just fundamentals, but just being as consistent as possible. And then I definitely dropped that undercover for either Ordnance or Blitzkrieg, and I think that would allow them to get a lot more out of their streaks. If you did enjoy the video or any of the tips, remember to hit that like button, go to subscribe, turn those notifications on. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.